welcome to Headlines of the Day. This is 6th of April 2022 and we are back again with some of the major articles from the Hindu newspaper. Let's begin our today's discussion with the very first article on page number 1 from GS2 Polity and Governance. It is headlined as Let Dam Committee Continue for a Year. So from this article, you have to consider what are the recent developments related to the Mullaperiyar Dam issue, the background of this dam, stands of various stakeholders, Supreme Court's observations, features and significance of Dam Safety Act. What are the constitutional and statutory provisions regarding the interstate water dispute? Right? There's another article on page number 1 itself from Polity and Governance that is headlined as Information and Broadcasting Ministry blocks 22 YouTube news channels. From this article, you have to consider the key features of IIT Rules 2021, its significance, associated issues with the rules and discuss ways to address them. There's another article that is headlined as Rajya Sabha passes bill on the Delhi municipal corporations. So from this article, you have to consider what are the major provisions of Delhi Municipal Corporation Amendment Bill 2022 and what are its objectives. Alright, moving further on page number 6 from GS2 Constitution, there's an article that is headlined as Strengthen Secularism, Save the Republic. So this is an editorial article. And from this article, you have to consider why is the issue of hijab political as well as constitutional? What is secularism? Secularism in the history of India, why tolerance of other faiths and compassion towards fellow beings became an integral part of Indian tradition. Secularism and Indian constitution. Indian versus the Western model of secularism, how Indian constitution provides for freedom of religion and conscience. The key analysis and the possible scenario ahead. Alright, moving further on page number 6 itself from GS2 Education section, there's an article that is headlined as The CUET Mandate Warrants Cautious Implementation. So this article talks about the Central University Entrance Test. From this article, you have to consider what is this CUET, what will be the format of this test, how will it work, will it be necessary for a student to take special classes to clear the CUET, concerns related to it and what lies ahead. Moving on page number 6 itself, from GS2 International Relations, there's an article about the Ukraine crisis. The article is headlined as In the Middle. So from this article, you have to consider why does India's role appear to be more relevant in Ukraine crisis, Indian national interest linked to the region, what are India's responsibilities as global democracy and a truly aligned power, key analysis and the possible way forward. Moving on page number 8 from GS3 Science and Technology, there's an article about COVID. So the article is headlined as The Recombinant Variants of SARS-CoV-2 Virus. So from this article, you have to consider what are the variants created, what is a recombinant variant, how are the mutations and recombinants different from each other, is the newly detected recombinant coronavirus more transmissible. Moving on page number 8 and 10, there are 3 articles from GS2 Polity and Governance. First of all, we'll look the article on page number 8 that is headlined as The Indian Antarctic Bill and its various provisions. From this article, you have to consider what does the Antarctic Bill envisage? Why was this bill necessary? What is the history of Antarctic Treaty? And what research does India conduct at Antarctica? From page number 10, you have to consider SC to soon take up case against poll bonds scheme. So this article is about electoral bonds. What are electoral bonds? How popular are electoral bonds as route of donation? What is the Election Commission's stand on electoral bonds? The challenge against government's electoral bond scheme and what lies ahead. The third article is headlined as Bill in Lok Sabha to ban the WMD funding. So this is about the weapons of mass destruction. You have to understand what are the features of weapons of mass destruction and their delivery system, the Prohibition of Unlawful Activities Amendment Bill, its objectives and need. Moving on page number 12 from GS3 Environment section, there's an article about the IPCC report. The IPCC report endorses India's position on climate finance. So from this article, you have to consider the major findings of a recent report released by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC. The focus of this report, issues highlighted and suggestions. What is India's position on the need for scale, scope and speed in the climate finance? Moving on page number 12 itself from GS3 Defense section, that is the Brahmos sale to Philippines is a bilateral deal. You have to consider what is the Brahmos missile system, What is the significance of having land, sea, air-launched Brahmos? Which other countries are in discussion for the Brahmos missiles? And what is the status of the defense exports? Moving on page number 14 from GS3 economy section, there's an article that is headlined as Rural India will create 1.2 crore jobs in the dairy sector. So from this article, you have to understand what is the potential of dairy sector in India, the budget's role, challenges faced by the Indian dairy sector, initiatives related to the dairy sector by the government, and what is the way forward. Well, that's a wrap of today's edition of Headlines of the Day. For regular updates, you can follow us on our social media handles, and for more such videos, do stay tuned to the Next IAS YouTube channel.